Mr. D Math is the program we've been using for my middle school son, and I'm hoping to take you right inside of it and look at it. So let's see if this transition works. So this is Mr. D Math pre-algebra. Luke is technically finishing up 6th grade right now, but we had a chance to hop in and preview pre-algebra. So we've just done a little bit of it, just enough to get a really good feel for it and how it works. So I'm just going to tell you a little bit of the background, and then I'll take you behind the scenes. One of the advantages of this to us is that it's completely online. So I have a laptop, a traditional laptop, but my children all have Chromebooks. And so any program that's going to use a CD-ROM or a DVD in an optical drive is problematic for us. We could do it, they could use my laptop, but then we've got multiple kids sharing the one laptop and rotating out for math time. So the fact that we could find something that's totally online, totally streaming is great, because it means that eventually, if they're all using this program, they'll be able to use it from their Chromebooks and not need a computer with an optical drive on it. So this is what it looks like when you come into Mr. D Math. You've got all of your lessons here, and within each lesson you can tell there are multiple sections per lesson. So if we go into the first lesson, we'll take a look at the sections that we've got here. So within chapter 1, you can see there's the 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, and every lesson is set up in a pretty similar manner. So for the first module in the lesson, you've got a video to watch. So you're going to be able to watch, like I said, it's all live streaming, so there's no DVD to load, there's nothing else to keep track of. You're going to watch the video, and then the nice thing is that all your coursework is right here too, so there's no workbook or textbook to keep track of. Right at the moment you need it, you're going to download your work and print it out. Now this is for the introductory lesson. It doesn't really look like math work. It's more like comprehension of the topic that he's talking about. But of course, when you get further on in the lessons, then you will see more traditional math problems. And then also for every section, there are solutions. So you've got your coursework right there, and you've got your solutions right there. And you might think, uh-oh, they're putting the answers right there where the students can get them. Well, actually, he intends for students to be able to get the answers because he's going to have them grade their own work. His idea is it'll make more sense if we get further into problems that have if there's an actual math happening here. But if you look at, so here's coursework part 1 for division. And they'll have actual math problems that they need to work out. And then coursework part 1 solutions. So here are some actual division problems that they could work out. And again, to me, I love this because there's lots of nice white space. There's lots of room for working out the problems. It's not fancy, but if you're going to be printing this out yourself, clean, clear white space with black text is the easiest, fastest, cheapest way to print, right? So that's a huge advantage. And then, like I said, the solutions are here too. He actually encourages students to check their own answers, and he wants them to work on it until they understand what they got wrong, what the right answer ought to be. His goal is not that they would do a worksheet and say, oh, I got 70% right, moving right along, but rather that they'd say, oh, I only got 70% of them right. Let me go back and see if I can figure out why they were wrong or what was wrong. And as I talked with Mr. D in person about the class, he reassured me that these courses are created for homeschoolers. He said, my goal is to put everything online and have it where you can use it, but you make use of it however you want to. I said to him, well, what if we don't want to do the problems on a piece of paper? What if we want to print it off and my son is going to do it all, say, on the whiteboard, and I'm just going to look at it on the whiteboard and see if he's done it right? He said, that's fine. This is your tool. You're paying to have access to this material, but it's your tool, and you're going to use it how it works best for your family. And again, his goal is that if you get something wrong, rather than just saying, whoops, it's wrong, oh well, move on to the next lesson, you would check over your work and see where it's wrong and try to figure out the answer. Once you've done your coursework, then you're going to go to this module, which essentially is just a place to enter your grade. So it says take a quiz, but when you go into the quiz, and I'm not going to do it right now because it would actually be recorded as an attempt, but when you go in, even though it says take a quiz, what it really is just a place to enter what your grade is. So you do the work on paper or on your whiteboard or whatever, and then you enter your grade. And he even has a little demo DVD that teaches students how to calculate their own grade. And it's basically just a fraction with the number that you got right on the top and the number of total problems on the bottom, and you turn it into a percentage, which is in itself a math problem. Of course, a little bonus incentive there is if they get them all right, or if they work on them until they get them all right, then it's going to be 100%, right? So the added incentive for getting them all right is that it's then super easy to calculate your grade, right? It's just going to be 100%. So module 1, video and work. Module 2, recording your grade. And then the third module is an online quiz, which is more like what you might expect of an online quiz, where you're going through and you're going to answer with multiple choice and filling in the blank and that kind of thing. And this is a quiz that Luke has already taken, and it tells you that you have a maximum attempt of 3. So what that means is that if you go through and you take the quiz and you don't do well on it, you can retake it. And he really encourages, if you get it wrong, just like with the other activities, you're going to go through. So Luke did this one and he got them all right, but it does show the question and what answer he gave, and then here that it's correct, the little green check mark. So like I said, with these, he got them all right, but he would have had the opportunity to go and look over his answers and then retake the quiz. Now, what it will not tell you is what the correct answer should have been. So if he had put in an answer that was wrong, it would show his wrong answer, and it would show that it was wrong, but he still would need to, when he retook the quiz, figure out what the right answer actually should be. So it's not as though it tells you the answer and then you just memorize it and go back in and take it. But it does, of course, tell you that what you put in was not correct. Then, at the end of every lesson, there is going to be a chapter test. And when you go to the chapter test, you'll be able to see max score 22 probably means there are about 22 problems. As it says here, the tests are not timed, so you can do some and you can come back to it. Just like with the quizzes, you're allowed multiple attempts, but with the tests here, he's going to allow you 5. So you can go through and do those. And then another really cool thing that's available in some of the lessons, let me make sure I can get back to the right one that I was going to show you. We've got these print off a worksheet and do your problems and record your grade. But here's another thing that he sometimes offers. So here you'll see in this activity, he's got coursework part 1, part 2, part 3, and then he's got this thing that's listed as extra practice. So this is working on divisibility rules, prime factors, that kind of thing. So these are going to be just your traditional print off a worksheet, fill in the blanks, print off your solutions, check your work. But this one that says extra practice, you'll notice that there's no corresponding solution to it because Mr. D actually has an account with IXL Math, which is an online program. And if you click that link, it's going to take you to a Google Docs document. And then within that Google Docs document, you've got links to a couple of activities on IXL Math. So if you click on one of those, then it will take you directly to IXL. And this is a, this is a program that you can subscribe to yourself. It begins at $10 a month, depending on whether you're doing math and language or just math or other subjects, or whether you have multiple kids online or just one. So minimum of $10 a month. But if you're using Mr. D's math program, then you don't need to subscribe because you'll have access to these activities yourself through the Mr. D Math. So we don't personally have an account on IXL, but yet we're able to access it just because of being able to go through Mr. D's account that he's got set up here. So that's really nice because it means we've got access to a little extra practice aside from just your traditional paper pencil kind of work there. So that's a basic overview of what's involved in every lesson and each module in the lesson. And I will say that one of the things that we have loved the most about Mr. D is just the way that he talks about math. And if you go to right at the top of this live video near the title, there's a link to the review that I did on the blog. So if you want to read more than, look and listen on a video, you can do that too. But there's a video there that I've embedded. So if you want to get a preview of what Mr. D Math video lessons look like, you can go there and do that and get a little glimpse at that. But, the way that he talks about math and the way that he helps kids to engage in math, it's far more than just, you need to do this kind of problem. Here are the steps you take. This is the algorithm. there's lots of different ways that he engages the subject. So I've seen in some videos where he's drawing diagrams or he's using actual physical number cubes and tens rods and things like that in the video, demonstrating to the kids the number concepts that he's talking about and interacting with them there. So, like I said, it's been great for not just teaching Luke how to do the math, but how to think about the math, which is exactly what we were looking for, because we had come from a couple years ago a format of doing math that was far more just, here are the instructions, this is what you do, please go do it. And the kids were kind of burnt out on that. And so we had switched to doing more family math, and that was a great blessing for us. But I knew that once we got into higher math, we were going to need a little more help on that, just because I'm just one person. And so in order to be able to do math with younger kids who were still working through arithmetic, plus transitioning into working with older kids who are working in higher levels of math, the Mr. D math seems like it's going to be a great fit for us, especially because of the discussion and the engagement that he does with the students on the concept. So thus far, the videos that we've done, Luke and I have watched together and just discussed them together, because that's a model that's really worked well for us. I don't have to do the preparation. I don't have to do the work ahead of time to understand the concepts, but we can watch the videos and then talk through together what it is he's observing in the videos. So anyway, I hope that helps to have a little bit of a preview and a little bit of a sneak peek at what it looks like on the inside of Mr. D Math. Again, as I said up there at the top, there's a link if you want to go check out the review on the blog, read a little bit more about it, watch the preview. And again, this is pre-algebra, but Mr. D teaches pre-algebra, algebra 1, geometry, algebra 2, pre-calculus with an emphasis on trigonometry. And then he's also got some math boot camp programs that he does with like SAT and ACT math prep. So links to all of that on the blog if you want more information. And again, after this video is over, feel free to keep the conversation going if you've got more questions. And I hope you guys have a great afternoon.